Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, and we are going to go over some mindset information today. I'm Monica Graves. I am out of Colorado. It's a beautiful morning today. We've been getting afternoon showers every day here, and it's keeping the weather cool. I think yesterday it was only in the 70s. And so I love these types of mornings where you get up and it's all fresh and feels really good for the body, mind, and soul. And so today, I would like to discuss with you about change. And change is something that is always constant. We go through it, every day. Things change. In real estate, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I can tell you, actually 31 years. Yeah, this year makes 31 years. And I can tell you that I have been through so many different changes in real estate. And what we really need to focus on is how to adapt to the change. And so when you are going through something and you want to come out of it, healthy, you want to come out of it strong, confident with change, there's some things that you can do. And so I put together a list, 10 steps of how to work with change and make it easy. So talking about change, we know that some changes are coming up, with real estate and working as a buyer agent. And so, like I said, I've seen a lot of different things happen in my career. I went through 9/11. That was pretty crazy to have, that happen. And then interest rates were lowered a couple of years after 9/11 happened. And then we got to that point in 2008, where I started doing short sales in 2005 and 2006. And so I knew that, 2008 was approaching, 2009, 2010, 2011. And so I adapted with those changes. And some days it was tough. Some days I thought, I was going to give up and not do real estate. But I always was able to pivot based on those changes that were happening and how can you benefit from them. So I'm going to share my screen here so that we can look at this list. Okay, so everybody can see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So the 10 steps for making change easier. Change doesn't have to be hard. And here's just 10 steps that I put together to try and deal with some of the things that we're going to be going through. I'm already going through a lot of changes with the buyer agency because I decided to adapt and decided to start using it now so that when those rules and everything change in August, I'm already prepared. And I'm doing that with my team. So I encourage you to practice, to look at all the forms that you need to be using, look at those changes that are coming up. And that way, by the time it is enforced, we've got till August 17th, which is the actual, real deadline. But I'd say August 1st is when we're going to start to see some of the forms being changed. Look at those things so that you can be prepared. And so that's when, number one, small baby steps, just start making those small changes. Look at those manageable increments. Look at those things that make you feel good about handling those changes. So when you can become more comfortable with change in general, you can become more confident. Okay, so practice always makes you feel more confident. And I promise you, if you're more confident with change and the changes that you're going to be going through, the people around you that you're talking about change with will also feel confident because it's that energy, it's that mindset that you go into it, that mindset of being very confident that you know what you're talking about, so that the people that you're explaining changes to, or explaining the changes that you are personally going through with your business, then they can understand it better and feel more confident. Because again, that energy that you're going to put out there, that you are confident, you're courageous, you've got this, will flow over to that person that you're working with. Number two is, form it into a daily habit. So what we mean by this is if you have some established daily rituals, which I do. I think morning rituals are fantastic, middle of the day rituals, evening rituals. Those can help if you start to incorporate that change into that daily ritual. So if you're trying to form a new habit or adapting to something new, let's just say you're adapting to some of the new changes coming in real estate, start thinking about it, meditate on it, visualize how that's going to work for you. And all of a sudden you'll see that it's becoming easier and easier because you have put it into a daily habit. Now, I journal about things. I visualize about things. And then when I start practicing with certain changes, it starts to become so much easier. And if you visualize it already happening and visualize it as already a part of your daily habits, then it'll just become a habit for you. It'll become something that's very easy. And that's why I just say that practice is so important, because you don't always have to be perfect, but at the same time, you become close to perfect the more you practice with it. So number three, go with the flow. If you are, doing something and it's a challenge, if you just open it up to where you say, I'm going to be flexible about this, I'm going to write out that change, and what will happen is you won't have so much resistance. If you have resistance to change or resistance to things that you actually really need to be doing, because you guys, this isn't being enforced. It's, it's part of the working with buyers now and the changes that we're going to be doing. It's something that has to happen. So instead of resisting it and saying, this is stupid, I don't know why I have to do this, just open yourself up and say, you know what? It's part of my job. It's part of what I really need to focus on. And I'm just going to go with the flow, right? Don't put up this wall of you hate doing this, or I don't want to do this. I'm not going to work with buyers anymore. Because if you have that attitude, it's going to definitely put up resistance, and you won't attract the business into your life that you need. So just go with the flow, be flexible about it, and just ride it out, and you'll start to see that it will become a lot easier. Now, I like number 4, because if you are grateful when change is happening, and if, when it start to feel the most stress about it, relief can often be found in finding what good can come of it. So, for example, if your finances right now aren't where they need to be, and you know that you need to make some changes, or you're sick, or something is, maybe you get diagnosed with something, or you've got some kind of relationship that's not happening, it can seem like it's the end of the world. But if you start being grateful for the things that you do have and the things that are going well for you, if you refocus and start looking at the things that you're grateful for, you'll start to find the good in everything. You'll start to find, when I had a serious illness when I was 30, it was right after I gave birth to my first child. I got really sick, and I started looking at my life and my job, and I had a really stressful job, And I started looking at, what good could come out of this. So the one good thing was I got to take off work because I was sick. And then I started to reform, where I wanted to be in life. Did I really like this job? And so I ended up, really looking at that. And I ended up leaving that job, that stressful job, and starting my own business so that I could actually stay home with my kids more. And that's when I started focusing on real estate. And so, if I hadn't had that illness, then I might not be in real estate right now. And I love what I do. So you have to look at that. How can you change your mindset about things that are changing in your life? The same thing with finances, start instead of, really worrying about things, start looking at the positive aspect of it. Okay, I've got this money coming in. I've got this going. Maybe if I do this, and start looking at your business plan and make those changes. Those small little changes can change so much. And so I really think that they are sometimes blessings in disguise. And, you have to be grateful for what you have in order to open up your mind and look at it instead of being negative, look at the positive aspect of it. So number 5, learning a lesson from it. Remember that all change involves a degree of learning. And when you fail at something, look at it as a learning way of, what do I need to change? It could be something so small that you need to change in order for it to become less stressful. And it says, try to keep in mind that after this period of transformation, you'll become a wiser person for it. And so always look at, if something's not working out and you need to make those changes, what do you need to learn from it? That learning part is so huge. I wrote a whole chapter in my book about learning, and that there's so many things, there's so many myths around the way you can work with mindset and work with your mind. And so know that you have the mindset, you've got the brain, you've got that power to learn from it instead of putting something negative on it, that it was a failure, beating yourself up about something. Learn from it, make those small little changes, and go through that period of transformation and move on. Okay, so just learn the lesson from it. And like, let's just say, for example, you don't get a listing that you really thought you were going to get. I've had that happen over my career so many times. And then it ends up being where, you know what? Don't worry about it. There's going to be something else coming. And so I've had situations where I've even fired people, fired sellers because they were so hard to work with. And instead of thinking about the money, instead of thinking about how I can't believe I'm giving up this listing, look at opening yourself up to something better. Go through that period of transformation where you really need to focus on, do I want to keep working with this person who keeps dragging me down, who doesn't respect me? And I did that with this one woman. I think she really has some psychological issues, and she yelled and screamed at me every time we got on the phone, and I just had to let her go. And it was $1.5 million. That was a big listing. And I just thought, if I could try to help, if I could try to get her in the situation where the property was going to sell. And it was awful. So once I let her go, once I said, I'm going to have to let you go, I got all these other listings, and all these other buyers came to me almost immediately. So when you have something where you need to learn from it, just let it go and open yourself up to newness, because be grateful that you let that go and move on. So the next one, number 6, is, prepare yourself for surprises, because there will be some surprises. And the thing about change is, you need to be very natural about it, instead of when we were talking about the resistance part. Remember that any kind of changes can cause upheaval. It can cause confusion. So while we anticipate certain things, that change might bring, it's impossible to know what all changes will happen from it. Because you're making these changes, and they could be little, they could be huge, but as you are making changes, and this is in spirituality, when people are really starting to change their spiritual, things that they do in life, all of a sudden, some of the craziest things will happen. It's like you're making these changes, and you want things to change for the good, but all of a sudden, it's like this. It's a little bit of chaos. Chaos will come, confusion can come, and so I just want you to be more open about knowing that unexpected stuff can happen, and because the winds of change will start to happen, we don't want it to knock you over. So it's almost like just saying, you know what, I'm prepared for anything that's going to happen from these changes. I'm willing to accept it, and just be that kind of open mind about it. Just say, yep, there's going to be some surprises that are going to happen, but I've got this. So be a little bit more confident about it. Sharing your feelings, number 7, is really important. Whether you have a therapist, or whether you have a coach, or where you have somebody you can talk to, your spouse, your partner, your parents, don't feel like you have to cope with all the changes, going on. If you've got a real estate coach, or if you've got somebody, a team leader, who says, I'm just, trying to get this buyer to understand what these changes are happening, and they're just not listening to me. Maybe that coach, or maybe that team leader, or maybe somebody can help you have a different mindset about it. Talk about what's going on. Maybe you write it in a journal so that you can and meditate on it, and just share those feelings so that you can have just get it out, get it out, have a sense of relief, because some people can actually help you to feel different about it, and then give you that confidence that you need. Allow yourself some time. A lot of times when we make little changes, or even big changes, some people want it to happen like overnight. And I promise that some things can take a long time. You can say that I'm trying to change. I'm trying to change my mindset about this. I'm trying to work with this person. Maybe it is, a marriage thing, and you're trying so hard to make changes. And again, it could be something that you have to have a whole new situation needs to happen, but just recognize it takes time. Allow yourself a period of time to reconcile those feelings, and this can make big changes feel less extreme, because if you know that, okay, changes takes time, and give it that time. Because if you start to force something, gosh, I've learned this over many years of trying to force things to happen. And every time you try to force it, it gets further away. I mean, you probably know what I'm talking about. And if you are just realize that, yes, I'm taking these baby steps, I'm moving the small rocks, and then when I get to the big rocks, I'll focus on moving those. But just realize that it does take time. Adapting to new circumstances. So again, let's go back to this changing of our business, changing of our business style, changing of our contracts, changing of how we work with buyers, changing of how we work with sellers, because we have to explain these changes with sellers as well. So no matter how large or difficult a change is, you'll eventually adapt to it. It'll start to become, like I was saying earlier, daily habit. It'll start to become the new normal. And all the new that it brings will eventually just weave itself into the right places in your life. So I know I've been talking about, the buyer agency changes and changes in our business, but think about this for anything that you have in your life. I know that I shouldn't drink alcohol because it gives me the worst migraines. I woke up with a migraine this morning and all I had was a hard kombucha yesterday. I was like, oh, this isn't that much. I woke up with the worst migraine. It's still pounding as we talk right now. And I need to not drink alcohol. I mean, it does something. I don't know what's going on. I used to be able to drink alcohol. So I need to make that change. And it is going to create new circumstances for me. It's eventually going to just weave itself into the right place in my life. And I'm going to understand that I will feel better, right? And when you have people around you that are doing something that you want to do and you know that you can't because of physically your health is not good, then those small little changes need to take place, and eventually it'll just be all good. Number 10, realize change can be easy or hard. So I know that I gave you these 10 because it's going to help things be easier to adapt to change and help with change. But you also have to realize that change is not always easy. Okay. If you're trying to change a pattern of behavior, navigate your way through a life change, you can't assume that it's always going to be easy, because a lot of times we put that mindset of this is going to be easy and then we get disappointed when it's not. So it's almost like if you need to cry or if you need to scream or if you need to let go and this is a period in your life that it's just natural, because change can be hard. But I wanted to give you these steps to make it a little bit easier. And then, just don't assume that it's always going to be hard either. Just because you are making some changes in your life, don't assume that they have to always be hard. Just, changes could be easy. All right. And it's just like trying to not put a easy or a hard on it. Just sort of focus on you're going to make these changes. You're going to become more confident, stronger. And I'm going to, I don't know if you need for me to let you look at this whole list. I guess I could send it to Autumn, and then maybe Autumn can share it with you, because I think that if you have this list and you are in that period of change and you're like, I need to go back to this list. Maybe here, I'll put this up for you so you can, if you want to take a screenshot, here's the first 4, or not a screenshot, or picture with your phone. And let me scroll down here. 5 through 7. And then let's see if I can get, there's 7 through 10 for you to take a screenshot or photo. So I hope that this helps you. I think that, it helped me just by reading them off. I created this stuff yesterday, and I know that I'm starting to incorporate the changes into my business regarding everything that's coming up in August. And then there's other personal things, like I said, that I'm working on. And when it comes to big deals like finances or any other big things you might feel worried about, look at this list and see if it can help you. Okay? So it's 9:25. I think I got the point over, and I am going to probably go lay down because my head is hurting. But again, there's the changes that I need to do, something physical, right? To make sure that I always feel my top best. And I'm going to focus on these 10 things that I need to help with change to make it easier. So have a great week. And I enjoyed this with you. And you actually made me feel better. Okay? So have a great week.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.